Hi, I'm Crystal Desai, and I graduated from the Hill School in 2015. After graduating from Hill, I went to NYU for my undergrad, where I started my career in music. I currently work at a music tech startup called Hi-Fi Labs. In general, music is a central focus in my life, and I can only thank my time at the Hill School for planting and nurturing that love of music in me. However, it took some time to find my love for music there and to actually pursue my career in music with confidence after that, because I didn't understand what it meant to live life for myself rather than others. But the pause from the pandemic and other life events taught me to stick to pursuing things in life that would make me happy, like music. Now I'm at a job I couldn't be happier with and have started a concert series in New York City called Willow. Music was never a core part of my identity until going to the Hill School. But looking back, there were always signs that this was going to be a big part of my life. I remember always loving music class and excelling at it, being curious about music, but I didn't think much of it at the time because it felt unrealistic. I come from an Indian background, so music wasn't really on the radar of careers around me in my community or really talked about. So while I had hints of what music could mean to me, I never was fully exposed or understood how much it could mean to me. I just saw it as a passing interest that I had a hunch about and never dug at. But the Hill School changed that for me. I didn't find the music program at Hill immediately. I'm a generally shy and reserved person, so going to boarding school and being there was a huge adjustment for me, academically, socially, just being away from home. Also, at that time, I was so anxious about making my time at Hill worth it. I needed to do whatever it took to get into the best school, or going to Hill wasn't worth it. That means getting the best grades, killing it socially, being active in school activities. None of that happened, obviously, um, but I didn't know what to think of the Hill School experience besides blowing it up in my head as this make or break moment in my life. As freshman and sophomore year went by and I wasn't reaching those goals, I was scraping at whatever could make me feel like I was making the most of this experience. I just chose random clubs and activities because those were the clubs and activities that sounded like they would look good for colleges. Then one afternoon, my roommate at Hill, who's actually still my best friend to this day, heard me singing in the shower in the dorms and said I should give it a shot. I'm not sure what it was that convinced me. Maybe it was that I believed my roommate, or it was just that I thought this is the thing that I haven't tried at Hill. I'm not sure. But I decided to try out singing lessons with Mrs. Powell. And it was the most vulnerable thing I'd done in a while. On our first day of lessons, she asked me to sing to her, and I just wanted to crawl away and not be there. Um, it just was, what if I wasn't actually good? Was this a mistake? I wanted to run away. But at the end of that lesson, she said I wasn't tone deaf and not that bad. And that's really all I needed to hear. After that, I took as many lessons as I could get. And when I told her I wanted to join the Hill Trebles, she said I needed to perform at coffee houses and just get as much practice as I could. And looking back, I really never thought I was a person who was capable of doing that. But I did. I kept going and trying until I felt confident enough to try out for the group. And when I got in, which took a couple tries, it finally felt like I had made the Hill School experience one I was proud of. Singing for the a cappella group, musicals, chorus, whenever I could sing, it helped me up. It helped me open up as a person and just bring out that person I knew I always was. It made me feel confident, which I hadn't felt in a while. Performing was a rush that I couldn't stop feeling. There was one performance in particular that still to this day makes me so happy to think about because I had never felt more proud and sure of myself before. And music and singing did that, and I found the connection that I needed. But it wasn't without the teachers who noticed his passion and love and pushed me to continue going when I wanted to retreat back to the comfort of being unsure and scared. The music and art teachers especially pointed out and made sure I knew how special this connection was. And I'm so happy they did because I decided to make music my whole career then in high school as well. I would always say, I want to work in music, which now sounds so silly to hear because what does that even mean? But I remember telling that to the alumni office, and they didn't flinch, but instead they just helped me connect with a few alumni who I could talk to in order to help me pursue my goals. I can't thank them enough for that because after my first call, I then realized just how big of a challenge it would be to have a career in music. And also because I needed to figure out what I wanted to do in music in the first place because the industry is just so big. Um, so that inspired me to go to NYU because I knew I wanted to work in music. I ended up majoring in economics and also liberal studies, which is basically a liberal arts equivalent. And with the liberal arts major, I did a thesis on music and blockchain technology. Um, because music is a new career for Indian people to understand, these these majors were compromised with my parents. But however, getting actual experience in music was the hardest part, and also the part that mattered the most if I were to actually make this a career. I managed to get a couple internships, one at the Blue Note Jazz Club in the city, and later on at Ujo, which is a blockchain and music company. And I was really interested in the crossing of these two industries, blockchain and music. So I made a career focused on that. But as any new industry goes, it fluctuates. And right after college, there was a dip in the market and no jobs in music and blockchain specifically. So with the experience I had, I worked at a crypto exchange, which I quickly realized was not for me. Um, I slowly was giving up the idea of a career in music because at that point, it's not like I had much tangible experience working in music. And the experience I did have was in this small, non-traditional space. Even if I did have some traditional experience, the chances of landing a job at a big music company was very low. And I knew that. I think slowly the insecurities I had felt around music and making it a career also started swallowing me in. So at that point, I felt that this is where my dreams of working in music had to end, but I didn't know what else I would do. So I let those thoughts simmer in the back of my mind. Then a few months later, in this exact sequence of events, my dad passed away, the pandemic hit, everything shut down. I lost my job at the crypto exchange. The piling of one after the other demolished any hope I had for a very long time in general. It sent me into a panic, and it seemed like everything and nothing was happening in my brain. I didn't want to just sit around and be complacent, but I also was struggling to listen to myself and my needs. I kept turning to others to figure out what I was supposed to do with my life. At one point, I applied to do a post baccalaureate to become a doctor. And there were talks of me becoming a lawyer. But throughout the months of panic, this nagging feeling kept coming to the surface. What if I never give myself the chance to work in music properly? Is this all worth giving up, that chance? Isn't this the time to take my chances? Eventually, I passed on the pre-med route, rolled my eyes at law school, and decided that since this feeling won't go away, I might as well dig at it. I have this pillow in my childhood home that Mrs. Lim, who's the music teacher, I think maybe still is, who was the music teacher at Hill at the time, gave to me when I graduated, and I still have it, that says music is my life. And I kept reminding myself of how I felt about music when I was Hill during those months of panic. And I spent months in my childhood home during the pandemic just thinking about what music meant to me, why it means this, way to me, the jobs I could get into music, just trying to think a bit more about how to make this work. But in that room, I did manage to secure 3 part-time jobs in music, one at a jazz nonprofit, one at a music startup, and another at a record store. And these jobs were hard. And they were many times I wanted to give up because I was so terrified of what people thought And for that year, I hated when people asked me what I was up to because it didn't feel real to me and it felt just silly. Um, and anytime they did ask, I just kind of reclused to myself and mumbled an answer. But but that's also where I created a concert series called Willow that I still do today. I created Willow during the pandemic as an outlet for people to feel togetherness and decompress through music. While I was figuring out what music meant to me, I realized music helped me through my grief and understanding of it. Whenever my thoughts felt too much or I was feeling stuck, I would always turn to music to help me release my emotions and ease the pain. I always knew I loved music, but it was during that time I realized what it was supposed to do for people. And that's why I created Willow. I wanted to create a series where people could feel the music and process emotions during a concert. It was fun during the pandemic. I would book artists I loved to perform over Zoom, and during the performance, the audience would express how the music would make them feel through whatever creative expression they'd like. And after, we would share with the artists how their music makes or made us feel. The sharing at the end is my favorite part because there are always patterns and similarities in how people are feeling. It was hard to have virtual shows because you don't get the same effect, but it was my opportunity to give artists work and money when they weren't able to perform. And also, it was a chance for me to start gaining experience for future jobs, which it did help me get the job I've had for over 2 years now that I'm currently at. I'm working at a music tech startup and it's a dream job. Everyone that works there are very well established folks in the industry, and it's a job where I can officially say I'm working in the music industry. And it still shocks me anytime I say that. I also brought Willa to life and have been throwing concerts in person around New York City, and that community has grown so much in such a small period of time. It's really encouraging to see the people that come to the concerts that just want to connect with music and others. I'm excited to see what the next few years of Willow will look like. I'm really happy where I'm at right now with my career and with having Willow. I didn't think I would get here, but thanks to the Hill School for nurturing that love of music from the start, for giving me the tools to be curious about music and what it means to work in the industry, and giving me some of my favorite music moments that I still think about today. Throughout this journey, whenever the idea of working in music or even singing becomes unrealistic or I feel like I'd give up, I always think back to where it all started. And I truly think if I didn't have that solid foundation, I wouldn't have the curiosity and confidence to explore where the love of music would lead. If I didn't have that foundation, I don't think I would have lived life for myself. Maybe I would be 2 years into medical school by now. I've been trying to live life like that more, just for myself and trying to listen to myself and not compare myself to others, because that's a big issue for me. I mean, it was an issue in high school too. And I think if I lived life for myself a bit more then and listened to myself, I would have found music sooner. Music helped me through some of the toughest moments in my life. Now that the passion for music has entered, I can't imagine a world without it. I can only thank my friends, teachers, and the artists that make the music who push me in this direction. Listening to yourself and living life for yourself creates some of the happiest people. I'm trying to stick to that and take a lot of inspiration from jazz musicians. Actually, they play jazz for the love and passion for it, and that's it. There are no other real benefits. So I keep telling myself, if you love something that much, then dig at it and see where it takes you. That's it.